Yeah, I'm excited to be back in the normal swing of things. We've been making all sorts of progress here on stream. I am getting close. I have every job to 37 or higher. So I'm getting down to that home stretch as we get closer and closer to see Endwalker. Seeing Rich Campbell react to Shadowbringers trailer today
Oh my
was really
God.
fun because
Yeah,
seeing somebody react with that much emotion took me back
exactly.
to seeing it at FanFest for the first time, which was a neat trip down memory lane for the fact that now we know so much more about Shadowbringers than we did at FanFest, obviously.
Absolutely. I do want to spend some time and get obviously some input from Lama Todd about Endwalker, but you bring up a great topic, Chris. Asmongold and Rich's impact on Final Fantasy XIV. I know, and we've been in the streams where I think Rich said, "Get me Lama Todd. Let's go with this." Like shouting him out by name.
Oh my goodness.
Lama, dude, what's that? Like, how's that feel? Just to have that
Uh,
random recognition.
it's crazy, and I think the way I found out, it was just he was lurking in one of my streams randomly one time. I guess he started playing and checking out the directory, and he found me because I was doing like my whole thing with rating, and of course I found his because he's like really popular, very charismatic. And his, like you said, his reactions have just been like phenomenal. Um, and I'm like, well, shoot, like let's check him out. And then he saw me in there, and then I got to do a couple dungeons with him, and like I'll never forget, I got to do the most of the Alexander raids with Rich. So I was there when he saw like the Brute Justice drop, and that's an awesome moment too. I don't know if you've ever done Brute Justice, but the music's going, and all the previous bosses that you fought in that tier kind of merge into one, and it's just really cool. So
I haven't done the Savage, so maybe we'll talk after this. But
you can see that in normal.
yeah,
You
that's
see
what I'm
that in
saying.
normal.
It's
But
so
He was doing
cool.
minimum item level in normal though, right? So
yes,
it was Savage Light already.
Yes.
It's there to punish you, but there aren't as many mechanics going on.
So being part of that, I'm very grateful that he's been wanting me to be included in everything. And most recently, he tagged me on Twitter. He wants to do an ultimate, so I'm trying to put together that the best I can with probably some other content creators that we know.
How does that work? Like, so when somebody like that tags you, so what runs through your head? Like, because I don't know how you view yourself. Because I view yourself as kind of a big dog in the space. Because when it comes down to it, like, you have just been really building a name for yourself out on Twitch, and I have a huge amount of respect, not just for the content you produce, but for the fact that you've done this on Twitch without the use of YouTube. Like, for me as a content creator, like, I go, well, there's something here. There's something special, and it's clearly being recognized. So I'm very happy that you're getting the recognition that you deserve.
Thank you.
It sucks that I am a horrible person because it took me this long to get you on the podcast, but
That's
nevertheless,
okay.
we're remedying that today. What is that like? Like, how is building an ultimate? Like, what does that look like when you see that tweet? What do you do?
I start panicking a little bit. It's like, ooh, a little bit of pressure. Part of me is just like, oh God, I kind of wish I had like the team already set, because like he asked me to contact him like privately before, and I just wanted to give him like the rundown of like setting expectations for an ultimate. Like, well, here's what I think you could do. Depending on how you want to approach this, we can pull in different people. So it could be like, do you want like the easiest route? And I say easy very lightly because it's still an ultimate, and even if it's just like one person, they have to learn the fight. Or like, does he want to bring in more new players, or people that just haven't touched ultimate, people from his community? I don't know. So I just presented a couple options, and then I think after the all craft with Zeno, Zeno kind of talked them into doing it with veterans. It's like, look, if you want to do it before, he was very blunt. He's like, if you want to do this before Endwalker, you should probably do it with veterans. And who cares what people say? Because already we're going to get comments. Oh, he's going to get carried. All these streamers or these raiders are going to help him out. Carried. And I just think that's completely unfair. And Zeno also made a really good point. It's like, even if they went in with like 8 blind people, like no experience with ultimate, someone's still going to find a way to complain. And it's true. So might as well just like do what's going to be fun for you and do what's going to make good content.
Yeah.
And I don't think people want to see ultimate being dragged out for, like, if they do it with 8 blind people, it will be dragged out for months and months and months. I don't reasonably think they would finish before Endwalker if they did that.
I mean, it also varies on like what their definition of carry is, right? So we've seen, you know, I don't know the ultimate fights that well. I've always been a viewer. I've never even set foot in them, but like within a carry, we've seen people come into the space and do things different ways, where they've had people with them that are very talented. But what happens when that person dies and doesn't understand a mechanic? Do we wait? Do we leave that person blind, or do we continually coach them the way you took me through Savages? You know, it varied how many people were in the pools with me that had done it before versus hadn't. We are overgeared, but we are doing it no echo. You're doing raid callouts that are very specifically targeted to me. But then there's also times where like the tanks miss it and we wipe it up. So I wasn't dead on the floor at the time that any of the bosses went down. Right. And so like, it doesn't really matter. I think what matters is Rich and Asmon are very well aware of the prestige that comes with clearing an ultimate, any of the ultimates at all, and in any way. And so it's literally what will make them the happiest with that clear, because you can't go back and re-clear it for the first time. You get one chance at what your first experience is.
Exactly. And shoot, I mean, my first time, I went in with Zeno. Like, my first ultimate was T, and Zeno led that one. I mean, we did have a lot of new people in it, but Zeno had previously cleared it, and we were like we were like a reprog group for him. So I mean, you could technically say, oh well, Todd, you're T clear, you got carried. It's like, okay, I still put the work in, and it was awesome. So like, you can't take that from me. We had some really good moments too.
Where do you think that root idea comes from? Because there's no way that Rich or Asmon specifically would have the experience that people had when the content dropped fresh. What do you think that root idea comes from people who are just going to like, it sounds like to me they're searching out any way to discount. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't understand that mentality. I mean, it goes against like everything that I do and provide for the community. I mean, because you could technically say I just giving people carries every night when I'm helping folks.
Full-time carry.
Yeah, exactly. Full-time carry.
Fireman just carried me across that finish line.
I know, right. Just carry, exactly. But like, and I've been very careful in how I teach, because like, I don't want to set up the situation where someone just comes to me, gets the easy clear, and then like they're done. Like, that's it. Like, I want them to have like lasting, or at least reasonably lasting knowledge of the fight, where they can go back into Party Finder comfortably, and they're gonna like remember a lot of the stuff I taught them. So like, I'll try to like remove call outs as we progress further into the fight, like from the earlier phases, and just kind of like, all right, let's see where they're at. But yeah, I don't know why people try to discredit clears and try to like, you know, invalidate people's efforts and stuff, especially with an ultimate, because like I said, it's you still have to learn the fight. You can't just be a corpse the entire time and get the clear. There's mechanics that are completely unavoidable, where it's personal responsibility, where if you don't move the right way, you don't do the right thing, you're going to wipe the raid. So it's like, it's a PvE game. Like, what does it matter to you if someone else clears? It doesn't affect you.
Do you think
it's older content? Like, let it go.
Do you think streamers have an unfair advantage over just regular players?
I think that's probably another part of it. I think those who complain are mad that maybe streamers have the extra resources, and especially very popular streamers, they get all sorts of raiders that want to help them. So I think it's maybe a bit more accessible. It's going to be harder for the average player to, like, they're going to have to like actively find discords and find people and
Sure.
even recruit their own team. But a big streamer, it's gonna be like, how can we raid with you? This is gonna be so cool. So yeah, I can see the jealousy there being a problem.
It cuts that step out. I will tell you, that would be a very, like, taking the time to buy a camera and a microphone and build an audience solely so that it'd be way easier to just go into a Discord and ask for help. Like, that's a long journey to get that payoff. So that's kind of like saying somebody like just started a movie so they could get like free Taco Bell. Like, you've done a lot of work for something you could have just had at the start.
That's been my 10-year plan.
It's been my 10-year plan. Like, this was it, guys. 5 years of work to get in. We can shut it down. We were just trying to get big enough that we could get carried through one tier of Eden. We're done.
And one of us has a secret lab share and the other one doesn't. So another 5 years. I paid cash for this, not sponsored. Anyway, go ahead.
But I will say, like, the stakes go up across the board, though, because if Asmongold doesn't get his clear in a night, that damages his entire, like, it hurts them when they're not getting their clear every single time. Like you said, that can't just drag on for months. It won't be good content.
No.
And so, yeah, they're getting access to these higher level players, but they're also having to do all of this and then do it while entertaining. There are very few content creators that are big enough and talented enough that talent alone can carry their career on Twitch. The vast majority of them are offering some level of entertainment value beyond what you're seeing in the gameplay. It does happen, especially during like the race for world first, where we will see people who really don't have any interest in the personality side of Twitch that have enough talent to carry an interesting stream, because we're seeing gameplay that we can't get to otherwise. But I don't think that's what Rich and Asmon are doing. I think they're adding something to the gameplay.
They are.
So I don't think it's that straightforward.
What do you think the lasting impact that Asmon and Rich are going to have overall on the 14 community? Because I've got my own theories. I'm going to let you have the floor, and then we can kind of just break that down.
Gosh, I mean, we've already seen it already. I mean, there's just gobs of new players, new sprouts and stuff. I think the last Alliance raid I was in, it was just completely like just full of sprouts. It was like a Chia Pet Alliance, basically. And
is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like when you're jumping into play?
I think it's good. No, I think it's awesome, and it it took a lot longer than what I recall, like the last time I did an Alliance raid, because there were so many new players like trying this like mechanics, like they weren't standing on the platforms, and they were just like, I'm like why is this so much, like why is this harder? And I was okay with it. And when I do leveling roulettes, like I see a bunch of new players and I'm not getting mad. Like I'm sure there's gonna be some people that do get mad, but like I love this. I'm like, oh, look at this guy.
It's very rare in my leveling roulette that anybody else in the party besides me has level 80. Just one.
Yeah. Like he doesn't have his tank stance on it, or he's asking for help, and some of them are like, sorry guys, like I don't know what I'm doing. And I think I helped someone recently just kind of show them the ropes, like how to like tank better in a dungeon, and they were like very grateful for that. But I think that's part of it, like just their community. And they kind of gave the green light to a bunch of the WoW players to move over. And of course, they have the whole like Activision Blizzard stuff going on, but that's another thing. That's no topic. But also
let that die.
Yeah,
that,
from assholes. But then they have other streamers that also get the green light. So it's just like waves and waves of streamers and their communities and new players, and it's just compounded. So I think we're going to be seeing that for probably the long term, even if like a fraction of those people stick around. Like if they do the story and maybe they leave, there's probably still going to be some that want to stay and be like, oh man, this is my new favorite game. Like I want to play this for a long time. And I think Endwalker is going to be like primed to be a pretty hype situation. I think the directory is going to be crazy when Walker drops.
What do you think, Chris? Is the directory going to be crazy?
I mean, it was going to be crazy regardless, right? And Rich and Asmon are among a wave of new creators coming over. Pyro just announced kind of done with WoW altogether, basically coming over. You know, a lot of these creators, they do have other variety they do, but when they focus on a MMO as the majority of their content, we see other people making the move. and they each have their own community and their own impact. I think the biggest thing that it's done is that for a lot of years, there have been stereotypes around the Final Fantasy XIV community, because as a small community, they only come across one or two aspects of it. And when those one or two aspects all have something in common, it's very easy to say, okay, I see 5 people that play this game and they all have this thing in common. I bet all 2 million people that play this game, or all 5 million, must also have that thing in common. And they just move forward with that stereotype. And so as a result, huge portions of other MMO communities like World of Warcraft have said, I don't want to play Final Fantasy because only people that have this quality or this interest are interested in that game. But when you go out and you meet 100 people that play that game, when you have a big surge like this, there's no way all 100 people have one thing in common. And so that immediately forces you to evaluate it like just a touch more complex, just the tiniest bit more like, hey, maybe they're not all exactly the same freaking person. And that has created like an opening for validation to say, well, I don't want to play it because I don't like anime. I don't want to play it because I don't like story and all these things. And we're all like, okay, well, if you don't want to play it, that's fine. But like, that's not a good reason. And so like, it's removed a lot of the barriers. And so it's let people decide, like, do I want to play it and do I want to like it? And if they like it, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. It's just created an opportunity for people to try it. And some of those people will like it. It is a good game. I don't know that the free trial is the best representation of, as we've seen a lot of people who say, hey, I only want to give a game like 2 or 5 hours worth of effort. Well, the first 2 or 5 hours worth of A Realm Reborn does not perfectly represent all of Final Fantasy. So I do think we do still have a new player experience problem with the game. In that we don't give them a fair taste of what the game is as its entirety. We say, hey, try this one thing. And if you like that one thing, don't worry, it's all different. So I think we could still get better at that across the board. But I think that the content creators are doing a good job of showing that amount of variety and showing that it's okay to like this. Rich said yesterday, I think, or earlier this week, like, this is my favorite game of all time. Like, when you hear that, you go, oh, well, then maybe, just maybe, I'll like it a little bit. Like, if it's his favorite game of all time, it doesn't have to be my favorite, but maybe I'll like it a little bit. And that's a wonderful thing for the long-term health of this game, especially from people who are often asked about other games and they maybe have been making misinformed or underinformed statements in the past.
Yeah. Now, for me, I would say, like, in regards and conclusion to the Asmon and Rich discussion of the show in this case, is I have come to the conclusion that I don't think Final Fantasy XIV needs any defense. I think there are people who believe that it needs to be defended for whatever reason. I'll make myself the kind of the bigger picture here. And when I look at the game itself, it's like, I honestly am like, are you even playing the game? Like, do you realize what we have and what Yoshi P has built? Can it be better? Yes, we'll always be hopefully the first to come and talk about the game critically. But when we left Shadowbringers, we were called shills. And when we went to the media tour, we were called shills because they're like, there's no possible way that Shadowbringers is that good. And it's like, well, I mean, just wait a couple of weeks. Like, yeah, could it be better? Could we see some things done with healers? Yeah, that's when we got Endwalker, and we're going to see what they're going to do there. Like, no game is going to be ultimately perfect, but at the end of the day, like, I've come to the conclusion, I just look at the group of people who feel like they have to defend the game, and I go, what game are you playing? Our game needs no defense. It speaks for itself perfectly. And that's where it's like when people are attacking Asmon or attacking Rich or attacking any of these WoW players, it's like, okay, like, why even waste that energy? Like, and then again, I'm speaking as a guy like Rich, like I said, not Rich, but excuse me, Llama. I don't know why I called you Rich for a second there. Like, helping me actually get my first E9S clear last night. My first Savage clear since I haven't touched rating since ARR.
Almost 2 clears.
We almost like blind cleared 10. We almost blind cleared 10. We got to Void Gate 2, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Heal, dodge, cure, stand, turn. Okay. We, like, oh my God, I don't, like, Brian, what happened? I don't know. I was just in the zone. But at the core of it, it's that, like, wow, this game truly has something special. And the fact that somebody's coming in and saying it's their favorite game of all time, like, that does speak miles. I think Chris, like, hits the nail on the head absolutely with that. But yeah, I just see it as, I can't relate to somebody who has that feeling because I have no time to even care. Oh, you don't like the game? All right, like, cool. Like, can I might have a follow-up question. Otherwise, it's toodaloo. Like, I'm just going to go on and continue to enjoy my time.